You're listening to the Faith and Business Podcast with me, your host, Elle Edwards, from the Faith and Business Playground, here with Bible-friendly brain gymnastics to help make your day-to-day life and business more delightful. In today's episode of the podcast, we are thinking about your why. Now, this week in the Mindset Minute, the theme is hope. Next week is love. But I'm jumping ahead of ourselves a little bit with today's podcast episode. Most because next week is Christmas. Woohoo! And there is no Christmas Day episode. I figure that you'll be far too busy opening presents and playing board games and going off and celebrating the birth of Jesus and doing all that kind of fun stuff. You won't want to be listening to a podcast. If you do want to listen to a podcast, there is enough back episodes of the Faith and Business Podcast to keep you out of mischief. So no episode next week, which means I don't really have a love-based episode on the books. And I do want to share with you a little bit of a story. So like I say, that's why I'm jumping ahead this week. And it's to do with your why. It's also to do with my why, and it's to do with love. So let me start out by telling you a story. I've been around this online business space since 2010. It's what I'm calling the 3,287-day overnight success story. That's the story I'm going to be telling you on Friday. So I'm jumping ahead of myself there, giving you a little bit of a pre-warning of that one because it's going to be a fun one. So I've been around in this space since early 2010. And one of the things when you're building a business, any business really, but one of the things online is that people say, right, it's really important to know your why. Simon Sinek talked about it in his TED talk and his book. And, it's how important if we build companies around the idea of a why, if we employ people to work with us because they share that same why, it's really important. And that's great and all. But for the longest time, my why didn't really fit with my business. Because if you were to ask me, and I was going to be really honest, and there were days where it would change because sometimes, you get asked this question and then you give what feels like the correct answer or the answer that best fits in with your business. There's that kind of answer versus the actual truthful answer. So the actual truthful answer, if somebody said to me, why were you put on this planet? What's your why? What's your reason for being here? And I would tell you, my reason for being here is to show up, be myself, and love on the people around me, to be God's hands and feet and arms and words and hugs for the people that come into my day, whether that means physically, like people I see around me in the offline world, using inverted commas there, real life. There's no such thing as real life versus internet life. It's all people, isn't it? But whether it's people I see face to face in my day, or whether that's people I come into contact via the internet, because I do run an online business, I have lots of internet friends, which I know is absolutely hilarious to my children. The very first time my friend Meg came to the house, they were like, how did you know her? Twitter. Oh, but she could be like a stalker or she could be this and that. And I, no, she's just Meg, it's fine. But this idea of internet friends is hilarious to my children and probably to your children too, if you were to ask them. But it's true. Like I've built friendships with people who I met on the internet and they know me better than some of the people I come into contact with in my like walking about day-to-day life. But it doesn't actually matter whether we're talking about in-person friendships or whether we're talking about online friendships or just random people that come into your day. I would tell you that I'm put on this planet to show up, be myself in order to love on the people around me. And that's great and all. But the problem I had is, okay, well, how does that relate to business? And for the longest time, it didn't because, long-time listeners will know I've gone round in circles with this work for a very, very long time. Different iterations of it, completely different businesses. It's been something of a journey, and it's a journey that I will tell you more about at the end of the week. But having gone round in circles, there were times where the work I was doing had absolutely nothing directly to do with my why. Like when I write fiction, for example, I can't really see how me telling you a story about Charlie Diamond and all the different escapades that she gets up to and the trouble she gets herself into, how is that me loving on people? I don't know. Or when I was with my VA business, when I was, or my helping other people build their business. But VA stands for virtual assistant, in case you're listening, you're like, what's a VA? So when I was helping other business owners build their businesses, how was I loving on the people around me? I mean, I was being supportive and lovely and delightful to those people. But other than that, it wasn't really serving my why. And I had the hardest time for ages. I couldn't work it out. And so as a result, I almost became a little bit embarrassed of my why. Well, not embarrassed, but just like, well, if somebody asks me, I'd make something else up because it didn't really fit. And I have been challenged at the end of 2018 and forced to realize that the reason why it didn't fit was because I hadn't quite got there yet. And I hadn't got to the point where I was ready to launch the business that would serve my why. And so I wanted to encourage you really today, because finding your why is important. Identifying why you do what you do is important. And there's a lot of human needs psychology that goes into this as well. In the need for connection, the need for love, the need for certainty, the need for uncertainty. But why are you here? Why are you doing what you do? And if your answer to that question, if you're deep at your core, real answer doesn't really fit within your business right now, I just want to encourage you that that's okay. I've been there. I understand what that feels like. You can get there. You don't have to worry about it too much. I mean, it's something that you can ponder on. And the more that you ponder on it, of course, thanks to the way your brain works, the more answers will come up. And it will feel like you're going around in circles, and it will be going around in circles. But ideally, the more that you go around the circle and the tighter you hone in, at some point you'll get to that sweet spot where, and it has taken me 3,287 days to get there, but I'm finally at that, so that's what this was all about. And that feeling is magic. And I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, sorry, because that's Friday's episode. But really today is just about encouraging you to not to stress about it too much. You are amazing and wonderful and brilliant and messy and human and delightful, and you get it wrong sometimes, and multifaceted and all these things. That's what it means to be human. And there will be days when you're like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And there are days when you'll feel like you're making it up as you go along. Okay, spoiler alert, we're all making it up as we go along. I don't think we're ever a done deal this side of heaven. We do our best, God helping us, but I know it talks in the Bible about being a new creation, putting off the old, putting on the new, etc., etc. And that's true. I stand by that. However, it also says that we are becoming more and more like Christ. Becoming. You don't wake up and then so suddenly magically it's like he's switched to switch and you're suddenly this other person. You're you. And the person that you were born is still you. And I don't really think about like heaven very often because it's so unknown and too many like, whoa. I'd rather focus on the here and now and on loving on people and doing this stuff because God's got that stuff covered. However, if you were to ask me, what do I think we'll be like when we're in heaven? I would say, well, you'll be like what you are now, just more Christ-like. I imagine that I will still be a complete chatterbox when I get to heaven. I imagine that I will still laugh at ridiculous jokes. I imagine that I will still have a stupid sense of humor. I imagine I will still talk lots more, because that's the person that God made me to be. And the person that God made you to be, you will still be that person. I don't imagine I'm going to suddenly be transformed into some sort of quiet little dormouse when I get to heaven just because it's heaven. I don't know. Like I'm basing that on the Bible verse that it says in Genesis, we're made in the image of God. And so therefore God made you to be you. So if you're listening to this going, yeah, but scripture says this, and it says this in Revelation, it says that in Revelation. I hold my hands up. Yep, I'm sure you're right. Okay. Because you'll have heard me say before, I'm a pan person. When it comes to talking about the end times and the 1,000 years of tribulation and the pre this and the that and the other, it will all pan out in the end. God's got it covered. I'm a pan person. And no, I can't take credit for that. That was a way my mum heard it described when she went to Spring Harvest when I was a teenager, I think, years and years and years ago. It's one of the things that stuck with me from that time we went there. The other thing that stuck with me was I slept overnight in a cardboard box. There was a whole a thing about homelessness and stuff. So I did that. And while I was doing that, my mum heard this expression, pan people, and it stuck with me. So yeah. But I just want to encourage you that God made you the way you are, and you are delightful and wonderful. And if you haven't found your why yet, it's okay. Or if you've found your why, but you're not quite living it completely yet, that's okay. There is always time until there's not. But we can't live like that. God knows where you are right now. God knows your heart, and you're doing the best you can. And so if you could be kind to yourself, if you could stop beating yourself up because you haven't got it all sorted yet, that will take the pressure off. And then just step forward. If you listen to last week's episode about stepping forward in faith, take the next action. Just trust that God's got this covered. Because yes, you have got a why. And yes, it's important to know your why. But if, like me, your ultimate why doesn't quite match up yet, that's okay. God can help you get it sorted. And you can still be showing up and living aspects of your why, even if you don't feel like it's quite right yet. For example, I talked about how my why was to love on people, and to sort of like indirectly point to Jesus. If anyone was to ask me, how are you the person that you are? I would tell them the story of Jesus. And I would tell them the story of how grumpy and angry I was as a young mum when I didn't have Jesus. I mean, I prayed the prayer when I was 12. I'm using inverted commas there. I prayed the prayer when I was 12. I was scared out of hell. I wasn't loved into heaven until I was about 24, 25. And that's how I'm the person that I am now. And the same will be true for you. So wherever you are today, whatever your why is, you can live aspects of it, even if you haven't got the perfect setup yet. Even if there is still work to do in your business, for example, you can still show up today and live your why. Because when I had my VA business, I was still loving on the people who I was working with. I would show up each day. I would do the best that I could, so you can be that steward and that example and that becoming more like Christ figure today, even when you're still trying to figure out this stuff. And so today's episode really is, I hope, one of encouragement, because we can get ourselves into a little bit of a pickle. We can tie ourselves up in knots. I told you, the reason why I started my VA business is I got so tired of going around in circles going, what's my thing? What am I put on this planet to do? And I just gave up. I went, you know what? I'm just going to be me, and I'm going to help. I've learned all these skills. I'm going to use these skills to help other people while I figure it out. That's how my VA business was born, genuinely. And it was a really successful business. It went really well. But then stuff niggled at me. And we're going to talk about niggles next week. And so, God took me on this journey to where we are today. You are on a journey too, and God is with you every step of the way as you go forward, one day at a time. So don't worry. And, thinking, we're getting to the end of 2018. Maybe you've spent some time reflecting on the year, and there are aspects of it that you're not completely satisfied with, or there are things that you want to change as you get ready for next year. That's fine. You can still show up and be you and love on the people around you and be your delightful, wonderful, messy self, even while you're figuring it out. Okay? Excellent. And of course, if you want help with this, if you would like this mindset work that we're doing in the context of community group coaching, the Faith and Business Playground is open until the end of the week. Go to faithandbusinessplayground.com/join. Find out more. See if it will be a good fit for you. If you are looking to build an amazing business in 2019, I am not the mindset teaching that I'm doing next year is all being done within the context of the playground. I'm not launching or releasing any of this stuff as standalone programs. So Art of the Ask, for example, in January is all about the mindset work around asking for what you need in your business, reaching out to potential new clients, reaching out to JV clients, for example. The work that we're doing on money mindset, it could be a standalone product, but it's only being delivered in the playground. So if you are looking to develop your business in 2019 and you are a person of faith and you'd like to do it in a way that will enrich and develop and encourage your faith, because you'll be surrounded by like-minded, Jesus-loving people, then I would encourage you to check out the Faith and Business Playground. Like I say, faithandbusinessplayground.com/join. Questions, ask me. That's what I'm here for. But the doors do close on Friday, the 21st of December. In the meantime, thank you for listening. Smile. Have yourself a delightful day. I have been Elle from the Faith and Business Playground. I look forward to catching up with you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.